If you checked your phone in the last hour to see if someone replied, if you rehearsed a conversation in your shower this morning, or if you're watching this in incognito mode because someone might judge you for watching self-help content, congratulations, you're a slave. And the worst part? You built your own cage, but today that ends. The invisible prison let me tell you a story that will shatter how you see your entire life. Rome, year 65 AD. Epictetus, a crippled slave, is being tortured by his master. His master, Epictetus, deliberately breaks his leg for entertainment. You know what Epictetus' reaction was? He smiled and said, "I told you it would break. No anger, no despair, no begging." Now at the same time, on the other side of Rome, free and wealthy senators were having panic attacks because Emperor Nero might not like their togas. See the irony? The slave with the broken leg was freer than the free men. Why? Because Epictetus discovered the secret that 99% of humanity dies without knowing. Other people's opinions about you are their problem, not yours. Your reaction to other people's opinions? That's your problem, and it's the only problem that actually matters. Now answer me with brutal honesty. How many decisions did you make this week based on what others might think? That outfit you didn't wear? That project you didn't start? That message you typed and deleted? That opinion you swallowed? How many times did you betray yourself on the altar of external approval? If this is hitting hard, it's because it's working. And if you want to stop living as a slave to others' opinions, subscribe to Stoic Mindset right now. Not next week, not tomorrow, now, because every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, we destroy the mental chains you didn't even know you were wearing. Hit the bell, because the next video might be exactly what you need to finally break free. The imaginary courtroom. You live your life in a courtroom that only exists in your head. Every day, you wake up and present yourself before invisible judges. Your imaginary boss criticizing your ideas before you even have them. Your phantom mother judging your romantic choices. Your hypothetical friends laughing at your dreams. And the most pathetic part? These judges aren't even thinking about you. They're too busy being judged in their own imaginary courtrooms. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the known world, wrote in his private diary, how much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does or thinks, but only to what he does himself. This from an emperor who had the power to execute anyone who criticized him. But he chose not to care. Why? Because he understood the mathematics of control. Here's the equation that will liberate your mind. There are exactly two categories of things in the universe: what's under your control and what's not. Your thoughts, your choices, your actions, your reactions under your control. Other people's thoughts, other people's opinions, other people's actions, other people's reactions outside your control. And now comes the part that will blow your mind. You're wasting 90% of your life force trying to control the wrong category. It's like trying to push a river backward with your bare hands. Not just impossible, but exhausting. And while you're there, wasting your strength trying to control the uncontrollable, your life is passing by. Your opportunities are dying. Your potential is rotting. The disease of approval, the need for approval, is a mental illness. I'm not being dramatic. It's literally a pathology that's destroying entire generations. And social media turned this disease into a pandemic. Every like is a dopamine hit. Every comment is validation. Every view is confirmation that you exist, that you matter, that you have value. But let me ask you a question that will hurt. If you need likes to feel valuable, what's your real value? If you need compliments to feel competent, are you actually competent? If you need external validation to feel complete, are you complete or are you broken? Seneca, one of the richest men in Rome, said something that should be tattooed on the forehead of every approval addict. Every new thing excites the mind, but a mind that seeks truth turns from the new and seeks the old. But I'll go further. Every time you seek someone's approval, a part of you dies. It's not a figure of speech. It's literal death of your authenticity, your spontaneity, your essence. Think about all the times you wanted to dance but didn't because they might think it's ridiculous. All the times you wanted to speak but stayed silent because they might disagree. All the times you wanted to try but gave up because they might see you fail. Each of those times, a part of you died, and the cemetery of these small deaths is what you call life. The Emperor's experiment. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share an experiment Marcus Aurelius did that you can start today. He called it the view from above, but I call it the cosmic relevance test. Here's how it works. Imagine you're floating in space, looking at Earth. You see continents, oceans, clouds. Now descend a bit. You see countries, cities. Descend more. You see buildings, houses, people like ants. Now find yourself that tiny, imperceptible ant, one among billions. Now tell me, that person who criticized your outfit yesterday, where are they in this view? That mean comment on Instagram, how big is it from up here? Now go the other way. Zoom through time. In 100 years you'll be dead. The person who criticized you will be dead. Everyone who knows both of you will be dead. In 1,000 years, even the language you spoke might not exist. In 1,000,000 years, the human species might not exist. And you're losing sleep because someone didn't like your photo. This isn't nihilism. It's perspective. It's the difference between living like a scared rat in a maze and living like an eagle that sees the entire maze from above. When you gain cosmic perspective, other people's opinions reveal themselves for what they really are. Irrelevant noise in the symphony of the universe. If this content is opening your mind, you need to subscribe to Stoic Mindset now. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, we take these deep philosophical concepts and transform them into practical tools you can use today. It's not abstract theory, it's applied philosophy that works. The psychological armor now. I'm going to teach you to build what the Stoics called the inner citadel, a mental fortress that no external opinion can penetrate. But first, let me destroy an illusion. You don't need high self-esteem. Self-esteem is another scam from the self-help industry. What you need is self-respect, and the difference is brutal. Self-esteem says, I'm amazing, I'm special, I'm unique. Self-respect says, I'm enough, regardless of what they think. Self-esteem needs constant evidence. Self-respect exists independent of evidence. Self-esteem can be destroyed by one criticism. Self-respect is unshakable. How to build self-respect? Through what I call the Personal Integrity Protocol. First, make a list of your non-negotiable values, not what society says you should value. What you value. Honesty, courage, creativity. Define your own terms. Second, every night before bed, ask yourself, did I live according to my values today or according to others' expectations? Be brutally honest. Don't judge, just observe. Third, every time you betray your values out of fear of others' opinions, write it down. Today I lied to seem more interesting. Today I agreed with something I don't believe to avoid conflict. Today I diminished myself to not intimidate someone. Fourth, for each betrayal, create a repair, not with others, with yourself. If you lied, tell an uncomfortable truth. If you diminished yourself, do something that demonstrates your capability. If you falsely agreed, express a genuine opinion. This protocol does something revolutionary. It shifts your reference point from external to internal. You stop measuring yourself by others' rulers and start measuring yourself by your own. And when you do this consistently, something magical happens. Others' opinions become literally irrelevant. The paradox of freedom. Here's a paradox that will fry your neurons. The less you care what others think, the more they respect you. The less you seek approval, the more approval you receive. The less you try to impress, the more impressive you become. Why? Because authenticity is magnetic. When you stop performing, people feel it. When you stop pretending, your presence becomes powerful. When you stop begging for attention, you command attention. Diogenes, the cynic philosopher who influenced the Stoics, took this to the extreme. He lived in a barrel, pissed in public, masturbated in the square. When Alexander the Great, the most powerful conqueror in history, visited him and said, "Ask me for anything and I'll give it to you," Diogenes replied, "Get out of my sunlight. I'm not suggesting you live in a barrel or piss in public. But understand the principle. Diogenes was so free from others' opinions that the most powerful man in the world respected him. Alexander said, "If I weren't Alexander, I would wish to be Diogenes." The conqueror of the world envied a beggar. Why? Because the beggar had conquered something Alexander never could: total freedom from others' opinions. The social matrix. You live in a matrix, not of machines, but of social expectations. From the moment you were born, they started programming you. Boys don't cry. Girls should be delicate. You need to go to college. You need to get married. You need to have kids. You need to be successful. Success defined by whom? Based on what? Each of these programs is a mental virus designed to make you conform, fit in, shrink. And the control system? Others' opinions. It's the invisible whip that keeps you in line. It's the prison without bars that keeps you domesticated. But here's the red pill the Stoics were offering 2,000 years ago. You can exit the matrix right now. You don't need an external revolution. You need an internal revolution. And it starts with a simple but devastating decision. From today, I live by my own terms. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid with regard to external things." Translation: if you want to really grow, you have to be willing to look like an idiot in others' eyes, because real growth always looks like madness to those who are stagnant. The price of authenticity. I'll be brutally honest with you. Living authentically has a price. When you stop caring about others' opinions, you'll lose people. Friends will drift away. Family will criticize you. Colleagues will think you're arrogant. Why? Because your freedom is a mirror that reflects their slavery. When you stop playing the approval game, you become a threat to the system. You're living proof that it's possible to live differently. And this deeply disturbs those who are still trapped. It's like being the only sober person at a drunk party. Your sobriety exposes everyone's intoxication. But here's the plot twist. The people you lose weren't your people. They were parasites feeding on your need for approval. They were vampires sucking your life force. They were anchors preventing you from sailing. Losing them isn't loss, it's liberation. And the people who stay, the ones who respect your authenticity, the ones who admire your courage, these are your real people. They're few, but they're real. They're rare, but they're solid. They're your tribe, not your audience. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How much trouble he avoids, who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does or thinks." Notice, he didn't say never think about others. He said don't waste life on it. There's a difference between genuine consideration and mental slavery. The inverted mirror method now. I'm going to share a technique I developed based on Stoic principles that I call the inverted mirror method. It's devastatingly simple and absurdly effective. Every time you catch yourself worrying about what someone thinks of you, invert the situation. Ask yourself, what do I think of this person? Not to judge, but to realize something revolutionary. You probably don't even have a strong opinion about them. And if you, who are directly interacting with them, barely think about them, how much do they really think about you? The painful truth is that people are too busy worrying about what others think of them to think about you. You're an extra in their life movie, just as they're extras in yours. And you're wasting your protagonist role, worrying about the opinions of extras. But let's go deeper. Even if someone has a negative opinion about you, so what? What concretely changes in your life? Does your heart stop beating? Do your lungs stop breathing? Do your legs stop walking? No. The only thing that changes is the story you tell yourself about what that opinion means. If you're absorbing this knowledge and want more, Stoic mindset is your philosophical arsenal. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, we destroy another layer of social conditioning and build another floor of your mental fortress. Subscribe and activate all notifications so you don't miss any mental weapon. Reverse imposter syndrome. Everyone talks about imposter syndrome, that fear of being discovered as a fraud. But nobody talks about what I call reverse imposter syndrome, the fear of being discovered as authentic. The terror that people will see who you really are, without masks, without filters, without editing. You spend so much time building an acceptable persona that you forget who you are beneath the costume. And the thought of letting that mask fall is terrifying. Because what if they don't like what they see? What if the real you isn't enough? But here's the truth the Stoics knew. The real you is the only thing that's enough. Because it's the only thing that's real. Everything else is theater. And you're exhausted from acting, aren't you? Tired of memorizing lines, drained from maintaining character, depleted from always being on. Seneca had a powerful practice. Regularly, he would dress in beggar's clothes and walk the streets of Rome, the richest man in the empire, pretending to be poor. Why? To test if he could maintain his dignity without his ornaments, to verify if his value was in him or in his clothes. You can do a modern version of this. Post something without filters. Express an unpopular opinion. Publicly admit a mistake. Show a vulnerability, not to shock or provoke, but to test your capacity to be real. Each act of authenticity is a muscle you strengthen. And like any muscle, it hurts at first, but gets stronger over time. The charisma paradox. Charismatic people have a secret nobody tells you. They're not trying to be charismatic. They simply stopped trying not to be themselves. Charisma isn't something you add. It's what remains when you remove all artificiality. Think about the most magnetic people you know. They're not performing charisma. They're comfortable in their own skin. They say what they think. They laugh at what they find funny. They're silent when they have nothing to say. They're unapologetically themselves. Now think about someone trying to be charismatic, forcing jokes, inflating stories, monopolizing conversations, desperate for attention. Repulsive, isn't it? The difference? The first doesn't need your approval. The second begs for it. Stoic charisma goes even deeper. It's the presence of someone at peace with themselves, who doesn't need to fill silences with noise, who doesn't need to impress because they're not competing, who doesn't need to prove anything because they've already proven themselves to the only person who matters, themselves. The internal tribunal technique. The Stoics had a practice I'm going to adapt for you. They created an internal tribunal where the only judge was their own conscience. Not conscience in the religious sense, but conscience as awareness, as your ability to observe your own thoughts and actions. Here's how it works. Every night, you sit in silence and put yourself on trial. Not a cruel, punitive judgment, but an honest analysis. Did I act according to my principles today or according to fear? Was I myself today or who I thought I should be? Did I live today or just perform life? And here's the crucial part. You're simultaneously the defendant, the prosecutor, the defense attorney, and the judge. The prosecutor presents the charges. You lied in that meeting to seem more competent. The attorney defends. I was under pressure and afraid of losing my job. The judge decides. Understandable, but not acceptable. Tomorrow, speak the truth even if you tremble. This internal tribunal does something revolutionary. It makes the opinion of all external tribunals irrelevant. When you've already judged yourself honestly, others' judgment loses its power. When you've already admitted your mistakes to yourself, external criticism finds nothing to grip. The poison of comparison. Comparison is the thief of mental peace. Every time you compare yourself to someone, you're drinking poison. It doesn't matter if you come out winning or losing in the comparison. The very act of comparing is toxic. If you think you're better, you develop arrogance. If you think you're worse, you develop envy. In both cases, you're measuring your worth by an external metric. You're letting someone else's existence define yours. You're turning life into a competition. Nobody wins. Marcus Aurelius had a simple solution. Confine yourself to the present. Comparison always involves projection into the past or future, into self or other. But in the absolute present, in immediate experience, no comparison is possible. There's only what is. When you catch yourself comparing, do this exercise. Take a deep breath and ask, what's happening now? Not yesterday, not tomorrow, not with him, not with her, now with me, here. You'll discover that in the pure present, you're always enough. It's only when your mind wanders that insufficiency appears. Liberation from roles. You are not your roles. You're not son, father, employee, American, man, woman. These are roles you play, not who you are. And the greatest source of suffering comes from confusing your roles with your identity. When you identify with a role, you become a slave to that role's expectations. A good son must do X. A real man must be Y. A respectable woman can't do Z. And you spend your entire life contorting yourself to fit into molds you didn't even choose. Epictetus taught his students to say, I have a body, but I am not my body. I have a profession, but I am not my profession. I have relationships, but I am not my relationships. This distinction isn't semantic, it's liberating. When you understand that your roles are clothes you wear and remove, not your skin, you gain existential flexibility. You can be serious at work and a clown at home. You can be strong in one situation and vulnerable in another. You can contradict yourself, evolve, change without identity crisis. Others will resist this. They'll say, you've changed, you're not the same, I don't recognize you. Of course they will, because your change threatens their script. Your evolution questions their stagnation. Your freedom exposes their prison. The cultivation of sacred contempt. There's a type of contempt that's sacred, contempt for unsolicited opinion. It's not anger, not resentment, it's absolute indifference. It's the ability to hear criticism and let it pass through you like wind through an open window. But attention, I'm not talking about ignoring useful feedback. If someone you respect, who has demonstrated wisdom, who has your best interest at heart, offers perspective, listen. But the drunk uncle's opinion at the barbecue, the stranger's comment on the internet, the envious colleague's gossip, that deserves your sacred contempt. How to cultivate this? Through what I call opinion fasting. For 1 week, completely fast from unsolicited opinions. Don't read comments. Don't enter discussions. Don't ask for advice. Don't offer opinions. Just observe how 90% of human interactions are exchanges of irrelevant opinions about irrelevant subjects. After this week, you'll notice something frightening. Nothing changed. The world kept spinning. Your life kept functioning. But your mind is clearer, your energy is higher, your peace is deeper, because you stopped wasting mental resources processing cognitive garbage. If you're ready for this radical transformation, Stoic Mindset is your guide. We're not just another abstract philosophy channel, we're a mental training program. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, you receive new tools to build a mind free from the tyranny of others' opinions. Subscribe now and begin your liberation. The courage of strategic vulnerability. There's a difference between being vulnerable and being weak. Strategic vulnerability is disguised strength. It's you choosing to show your weaknesses because you're not afraid of them. It's you exposing your flaws because they don't define you. When you admit a mistake before someone points it out, you remove that person's power over you. When you laugh at yourself before someone laughs at you, you transform potential humiliation into human connection. When you show your scars before someone discovers them, you transform wounds into wisdom. Seneca did this constantly in his letters. He admitted his vices, his hypocrisies, his struggles, not out of false modesty, but as philosophical strategy. When you have nothing to hide, nobody can blackmail you. When you have no secrets, nobody has power over you. But here's the trick. Strategic vulnerability isn't emotional vomiting. It's not trauma dumping. It's not seeking pity or attention. It's consciously choosing what to reveal, when to reveal, and to whom to reveal. It's using your humanity as a bridge, not a crutch. The Social Detox Protocol, you're intoxicated. Not with alcohol or drugs, but with social validation. And like any addict, you need detox. Here's the 30-day protocol that will reset your system. Week 1, 0 social media. No peeking, no posting, no lurking. Delete the apps if necessary. You'll feel withdrawal. You'll automatically reach for your phone. You'll feel like you're missing something. Great. That's proof of addiction. Week 2, 0 gossip. Don't talk about people who aren't present. Don't listen to others talking. When they start, leave or change the subject. You'll notice 80% of conversations will die. Perfect. They were zombie conversations anyway. Week 3. Zero validation seeking. Don't ask for opinions about your choices. Don't seek approval for your decisions. No fishing for compliments. Make decisions and live with them. You'll feel alone. Welcome to Real Adult Life, Week 4. Zero justification. Don't explain your choices unless absolutely necessary. No is a complete sentence. Because I want to is reason enough. I'm not interested is perfectly acceptable. You'll seem arrogant. Let it seem. After 30 days, you can return to social media, to conversations, to normal interactions. But you'll be different. The poison won't work anymore. You'll see the social matrix for what it is. A game you can choose to play or not. The philosophy of so what? Marcus Aurelius had a mental technique that's devastatingly effective. For every fear related to others' opinions, he asked, "So what?" and kept asking until reaching the fundamental fear. They'll think I'm weird. So what? They'll stop inviting me to things. So what? I'll be alone. So what? I'll feel rejected. So what? It will hurt. So what? I'll survive. Exactly, at the end of every so what? Jane, you always reach the same conclusion. You'll survive. And if you'll survive, the fear is disproportionate. It's like being afraid of a horror movie. It might be uncomfortable, but it can't actually hurt you. This technique reveals something profound. 99% of your social fears are about discomfort, not real danger. You won't die of embarrassment, literally. Nobody has ever died because someone didn't like them. The worst that can happen is temporary discomfort, and discomfort is the price of growth. The first impression myth, the obsession with first impressions, is a mental prison. You spend so much time trying to make a good impression that you forget to be impressive. So much energy trying to seem interesting that you forget to be interested. The truth nobody tells you. First impressions are largely irrelevant. People who will matter in your life will give you multiple chances. Those who don't wouldn't have mattered anyway. You're performing for an audience that isn't even paying attention. Epictetus told his students, if you want to appear beautiful, be beautiful. Not in the aesthetic sense, but in the essential sense. Instead of trying to seem smart, study. Instead of trying to seem interesting, live an interesting life. Instead of trying to seem confident, develop real competence. The irony is that when you stop trying to make an impression, you become genuinely impressive. When you stop trying to be memorable, people remember you. When you stop trying to stand out, you naturally excel. The art of selective indifference. Not every opinion deserves your indifference. Some deserve your consideration. Wisdom is knowing how to distinguish. Here's the Stoic filter for opinions. First filter, does this person have expertise in the subject? If not, ignore. Second filter, does this person genuinely care about me? If not, ignore. Third filter, does this person live according to their advice? If not, ignore. Fourth filter, does this opinion help me grow? If not, ignore. How many opinions pass through all these filters? Maybe 1%. And these are the only ones worth your mental time. Everything else is noise. It's like letting a beggar manage your finances or a blind person be your driver. But here's the kicker. Even opinions that pass the filters are just that, opinions. They're not absolute truths. They're not commands. They're perspectives you can consider, modify, or reject. You always have the final word about your life. The influence paradox. The less you try to influence others, the more influential you become. When you live authentically, without agenda, without manipulation, without ulterior motive, you become a lighthouse. And lighthouses don't chase ships, ships navigate toward them. Think about anyone who really influenced your life. They weren't the ones who tried to convince you, convert you, change you. They were the ones who simply lived according to their principles and by osmosis inspired you to raise your own standards. Stoic mindset exists exactly for this. We're not here to convince you of anything. We're sharing tools that have worked for 2,000 years. Use what serves, discard what doesn't. But do it consciously, not through pressure or persuasion. The reverse obituary technique. Want a dose of reality about how much others' opinions matter? Write your own obituary. Not what you'd like them to write, but what they would write if you died today. Be brutal. Be honest. Now answer. How many of the people whose opinion you fear would be at your funeral? How many would shed a genuine tear? How many would miss you for more than a week? The answer will be disturbing. Now write the obituary you'd like. Don't mention what others thought of you. Mention what you did, how you lived, what principles you defended. Notice the difference. The real obituary is about impression. The ideal obituary is about impact. Live for the second obituary. Live so that in the end you can say, like Marcus Aurelius, I have lived according to nature, not others' nature, not social expectations, but your own essential nature. The moment of decision, we've reached the critical moment. You have two choices. First, you can close this video, return to your normal life, and continue being a slave to others' opinions. Continue editing your thoughts, censoring your words, shrinking your dreams to fit others' expectations. Or second, you can make the most courageous decision of your life. Decide that from today, now, this moment, you live by your own terms, that others' opinions are their problem, that your life is your responsibility, that your mental peace is not for sale. If you choose the second option, you need support. You need a community of people who also chose freedom over approval. Stoic mindset is that community. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, we meet here to strengthen our resolution, share our victories, learn from our stumbles. Subscribe now. Not tomorrow, not later, now. Because procrastination is just another symptom of fear of others' opinions. You're postponing because you're worried about what they'll think if they see you watching self-help. Break that pattern now. Subscribe as an act of rebellion against your own mental prison. The final truth Seneca, at the end of his life, forced to commit suicide by Nero, said something that echoes through the centuries. Every new thing excites the mind, but a mind that seeks truth turns from the new and seeks the old. You can serve others' opinions and live as a well-behaved slave, or you can serve your own conscience and live as emperor of yourself. The choice has always been yours. The problem is, you were convinced you had no choice. You were programmed to believe that others' approval is oxygen, that without it you die. Lie. The only vital approval is your own. The only final judgment is your own. The only opinion you'll take to the grave is your own. Epictetus, the slave who became a philosopher, summed it all up in one sentence. No man is free who is not master of himself. And you only become master of yourself when you stop being slave to others. This isn't the end, it's the beginning. The beginning of your real life, not the performance you've been presenting. The beginning of your authentic voice, not the echo you've been. The beginning of your journey, not the script they wrote for you. The path isn't easy. You'll stumble. You'll relapse into old patterns. You'll catch yourself seeking approval again. Normal. A lifetime of conditioning doesn't dissolve in a day. But every time you choose authenticity over approval, you get stronger. Every time you choose your truth over the comfortable lie, you get freer. Stoic mindset is here to be your companion on this journey. Not your guru, not your master, but your philosophical training partner. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, we bring new tools, new perspectives, new challenges. Because mental freedom isn't a destination, it's a daily practice. Now take a deep breath. Feel the weight of the chains you've been carrying. The weight of trying to please everyone, of trying to be perfect, of trying to be loved by all. Heavy, isn't it? Now imagine dropping these chains, one by one, until you're completely free, light, authentic you. Welcome to your new life. A life where others' opinions are just background noise. Where your inner voice is the only one that matters. Where you finally, after all these years, can be who you really are. Internal control isn't about controlling everything. It's about controlling the only thing that matters, your response to the world. And when you master this, you become invincible. Not because nothing can hit you, but because nothing can control you. From today, you're no longer a slave waiting for approval. You're a philosophical warrior choosing your own approval. You're no longer an actor in a play you didn't write. You're the author, director, and protagonist of your own life. And that, my friend, is true freedom. Subscribe to Stoic Mindset. Activate all notifications. Share with someone who needs to hear this. And always remember, other people's opinions about you are none of your business. Your life is.